Recording. All right. So my name is Arlene J. Ramsey, and the name of my show is called Everyone Let's Talk. So today we're going to discuss what happens to the scapegoat when they leave their narcissistic family of origin. And in case you don't know what a scapegoat is, let me read that for you in detail. Hold on. So, a family scapegoat is a designated member of a dysfunctional family system, often the most sensitive or truth telling child who is unfairly blamed for the family's unresolved conflicts and emotional issues. This role acts as a pressure valve, allowing the rest of the clan to avoid self reflection and maintain a facade of normalcy. Understanding the mechanisms or the mechanics of this dynamic is crucial for recognizing the emotional abuse it causes and beginning the path towards healing. Now, why it's important for me to read that, because of course, not all the time we keep a lot of information in our minds. But let me go on and add to what I just read. So, with a dysfunctional and narcissistic family, the person or the child who is most not like them is the child or the person that they will select to become the scapegoat. And this person or this child will be the one to bear all of their insecurities, all of their shame, all of their mistakes, right? In dysfunctional families, do not self reflect, and they have no intentions on changing their structure or how they do things within their family. Therefore, opposed to holding in all of their dysfunction and all of the emotions, shame, and emotions, thought processes, you name it, that comes along with doing wrong by other people in society, they dump all of those emotions onto the child and the person who is the most not like them, right? And it's a way of saying, or a way of dealing with the person that's not like them, to bring that child or that person down, right? As we know in society, oftentimes people speak for or speak to situations or speak up for people who actually work within their interest, right? So when the child or family member who is not, or who opposes the interest of the larger or the majority of the family, that will be the person that will be targeted, right? It's an unfortunate thing. So now what happens to this individual when they become an adult and go on and do their own thing in the world? They are left with a lot of confusion about who they are. So this individual goes on into society and they continue to deal with more abuse and more disrespect because they don't know where their boundaries begin. They don't know where the abuse ends and their boundaries begin. Because when you come from an environment like that, the lines are blurred. Your family members are not going to affirm you or let you know what your boundaries are, what you shouldn't accept, and what you should accept. They won't teach you what healthy communication is, what healthy connections are, healthy friendships are, because if they taught you that, then you would also be taught on how not to, or how to actually hold them accountable, right? So because they don't like accountability and because they are dysfunctional, they have no boundaries themselves to even teach you what boundaries are, right? They don't have the proper self-respect to even teach you what self-respect is. And for those family members that do, again, they won't teach you what self-respect is because the goal isn't for you to be a dignified human being. The goal is for you to be who they've been telling the world that you are, right? And so your name has been smeared within your family, and the family has not respected the scapegoat since childhood. So it benefits the family if this individual goes on in life to not become successful or do anything great in life, right? Because then what they say about you would be true. So it's a collective and intentional effort to ensure that the family scapegoat does not become successful in life. It's an unfortunate thing, but it does happen, and it is not an isolated event. This actually happens in families more than we would like to admit, right? So when it comes to child abuse, it is more than just physical abuse or verbal abuse. Oftentimes, there is a collective family effort to abuse one individual in the family. And again, when this person becomes an adult, they don't have the proper self esteem, right? I don't like to use the saying low self esteem. I rather say that they have unhealthy self esteem, right? And it is not that individual's fault if they have unhealthy or what society would recognize as low self-esteem. Self-esteem is something that should be taught and affirmed by your family of origin. But again, if the child was a scapegoat, that child was basically the human trash can for that family, right? So in that, the child wouldn't realize that they were abused because you don't know what abuse is. And again, you wouldn't know what dignity is, self-respect is, boundaries are, right? These are all things that we learn later on in life. And hopefully, if the individual has gone on to seek therapy, they can expound on their self-care, self-actualization, self-agency, self-respect, boundaries, dignity, you name it. So when this individual goes on to become an adult, they are left with this level of confusion in the world. And that's compounded with dealing with being an adult and having to work and pay bills and just deal with society. There's a lot of confusion that goes on with an individual who have suffered from narcissistic family abuse, which would be the scapegoat. That also creates CPTSD, which stands for either complex PTSD or childhood PTSD. So those of you who know, PTSD is if you've been traumatized by an event. It could be one type of event, ongoing, or just one event, and you can obtain or develop PTSD. Now, CPTSD stems from various types of abuse. So the example would be verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse. Different types of abuse creates different types of coping mechanisms for that child, making their PTSD complex, making it very challenging for that child to be healed. And when they become an adult, it is extremely challenging for an adult to heal themselves of CPTSD because they have several abuses to unravel and deal with the different coping mechanisms that has happened as a result of the different types of abuse that they have undergone. That takes a lot of time. It takes years. And, you would learn, or the scapegoat would learn that during their healing process, as the years go on, there are layers, or life would happen, every 5 years, there's a new level in your life that would happen that can actually highlight a different type of trauma that you didn't realize that you've been holding in, right? I don't know if you've read, but there's a book that's called The Body Keeps Score. I haven't begun this book yet, but I have so many books, right? And I know too well about CPTSD and narcissistic abuse and such because I was a child of narcissistic abuse, and I am the scapegoat of the family. And so when you become an adult, and you go on to do great things, your family of origin will continue to speak of you as if you are not someone that is deserving of support and respect. What you accomplish would not be acknowledged, right? And if anything that you accomplish could benefit them, you would realize that your family of origin will feel entitled to be in your space just to profit or benefit from whatever it is that you have going on. And why this is important to say, it's challenging for an individual to be the scapegoat of a family and have self-agency and self-protection against this family of origin. It's almost like your voice and your power is taken away from you. Now, the power that you may have for yourself in society is not the same, or it doesn't look the same when it comes to speaking up for yourself to your family of origin. And that is because you have been disrespected ever since you were a child by the elders in your home, and they taught everyone in that household or in your family to treat you the same, including the family members that are younger than you. So the message to the scapegoat is, you're the problem, right? So the scapegoat innately think that maybe they are the reason why they're being treated like this, and that maybe they deserve to be treated like this. And unfortunately, when you believe that you are at fault and that you deserve to be mistreated, you won't have the self-respect or the protection. You won't be able to stand up for yourself the way you should speak up for yourself, right? It actually cancel out your self-protection once you believe that you deserve to be treated that way, right? And in that, you somehow allow your family to rummage through your life, cross boundaries in your life, right? Even if you cut them off, do not speak to them, they will find ways to embarge and intrude in your life. And it's the way they do it, right? They don't care to know how you're doing. There's never where they pick up the phone call to just have regular conversation with you, right? When they reach out, it is always that they need something. So you're constantly working as their helper, or whatever you have happening or going on in your life, they will feel entitled to the rewards of what's happening in your life. At the same time, coming into your life and teaching the people around you that you are someone that's not deserving of respect by their nonverbal communication, right? The family scapegoat has dealt with immense envy from the family, right? And what that also looks like is starting arguments around times that they find out that big things or great things are going to happen for you and to you in life. They, plot your demise, plot for others to disrespect you. The family scapegoat may not realize it, but oftentimes they're not successful because they don't realize that their family is against them and have turned the community against them, right? And so it's unfortunate that many people actually follow bad behavior, and they like to see when other people are distressed. Society is distressed, and oftentimes people like to see someone else in distress because it makes them feel better in the moment. So, and in that, what has happened to the family scapegoat in childhood follows them into adulthood, right? And it has a lot to do with, our self-talk will have a lot to do with what has happened to us in childhood and your family of origin, right? When you think about it, many people are courageous when they have supportive family, right? Our family is considered to be the roots to our tree. We are the tree, but they are our roots. When you understand that you don't have support, there's no root. Therefore, everything that you do is stemming from yourself, and your roots are not stable. And the reason why they're not stable is because you don't know much about yourself. And what you know about yourself is not the truth, right? Your family of origin never intended for you to know the truth about yourself. You were always supposed to be the helper of the family, right? The good thing with many of the scapegoats is you all have immense gifts, immense resolve, right? You guys are typically the ones that have the bright personality, the leader, natural born leadership, great resolve, courageous. You stand up for yourself and you speak up for other people. Don't allow bullying. You name it. All the things that are just sweet and good about human beings is typically what you will find in the family's scapegoat. And oftentimes, the family scapegoat thinks that they became this person because of the abuse that they've experienced. And I'm here to tell you that it's really the other way around. You were born this beautiful, bright, bubbly person, this whimsical, this courageous, this superhero, this person with great personality, great resolve. You were born that way. And the reason why you've been treated as the scapegoat is because you were born that way and you were different from your family of origin. And they didn't like what they saw in themselves by what they saw in you, because they did not have the qualities that you had. And so it has been their mentality or purpose to cancel you, right? It's just like the good old story in the Bible with Cain and Abel, right? This is why they say envy is one of the 7 deadly sins of the Bible, right? Because envy drives that, right? And oftentimes scapegoats do not, as I said earlier, they do not go on to live healthy lives, because this kind of abuse stemming from childhood weighs on a person, right? And everybody don't realize that they may need therapy, because when you come from a family like that, you don't think it's abuse, right? And so a lot of abuse is in the body. A lot of scapegoats have turned to drugs and alcohol to escape life. Some have later committed suicide, right? So we have a small percentage of scapegoats in this world that has gone on to do great things for themselves and for other people in society. And I have to say kudos to them. However, the road was not easy, and it still isn't easy. Some of us have to go no contact with our family members, because again, this level or sense of entitlement that family members have towards the scapegoat, and then thinking that the scapegoat is the person that's here to solve their problems, but at no time are they thinking that they should develop themselves in better ways where they can solve their own problems. It's really a mentality that you are here to serve them. Okay, 1 second. Let me have my seltzer water. And since Grown Folk Talking Network is about health, I come from the psychology aspect of things, and I clearly understand that in order for a person to be healthy, we have to take things from a holistic perspective. Yes, we must eat healthy. What we consume through our mouths is important. However, our mental health is as important. How we treat our body, how we treat our mind, what we're consuming with our eyes and ears is as important as eating healthy, and as important as working out to have a fit body. Okay, mental health is a number one killer because there is so much trauma that is attached to mental health. And we would like to say that it's not physical. However, narcissistic abuse becomes physical because of the ailments that end up developing in our bodies after a while and after years. Cancer cells, strokes, autoimmune disease, heart attacks, you name it, becoming obese because cortisol levels are lasting in our body, and and inflammation. There is so much that's attached. Stress. I don't know if you all understand that stress registers to the body as an open wound. Excuse me, and I've learned this years ago at my last job. When the body is stressed, it creates more blood clots, right? So when you get cut, if you fall down and scrape your knee, your body is going to create blood clots that forms in the bone marrow. The blood clot comes out to the area where you are cut, and it comes out in the form of a scab to heal that area. When a person is stressed, under heavy stress, the body uh, uh, creates blood clots as well, thinking that the body has been hurt and bruised. However, there's no open wound. So where do these blood clots go? These blood clots stay in our bloodstream, hence such things as brain aneurysms. And oftentimes when there's a brain aneurysm, they die or they become like a vegetable, brain dead. And it is because a blood clot traveled to a vein in the brain, and that vein exploded, right? Um, there's a lot that is attached to being the family scapegoat and dealing with this level of narcissistic abuse that society doesn't know. A lot of our coping mechanisms, we think that when we're hypervigilance stems from always being attacked from your family of origin. Now you go out into society and you don't know how to enjoy yourself because you're always scanning for threats. You're scanning. You're paying attention to people's moods. When people are upset, you feel guilty. You're thinking that you did something wrong. So you're tensed when you see someone upset, right? When people are laughing too much, sometimes you're tense because you're wondering, are they laughing at you? Like, are you the butt of the joke? Because in your household, you were always the butt of the joke, right? So you don't really enjoy your life. It's almost like you're living your life as an observer while everyone else is present in the moment. You're actually observing everyone else being present in the moment. So when do you become present in your life, right? And that's a hard thing for you, for the scapegoat to actually overcome, because they don't realize that they're being the observer. But at some point, you would say to yourself, well, when do I get to live like that and laugh like that? But it seems like you're always watching people and scanning for emotions, or just, and then you become someone that enjoy watching other people have a good time, watching other people enjoy their lives. And you may think that you like to see other people enjoy themselves. And there's nothing wrong with seeing people enjoy themselves, but that is not what God intended you to be. You're not here to be an observer, just an observer of other people enjoying themselves. You're also here to live in the moment and enjoy yourself as well, right? And so that is definitely something that you will need to work on, and try to get yourself out of that, and maybe seek therapy and see how your therapist can help you stop stepping back and observing other people and step forward and have a good time. The other thing is that being afraid to be in the front line and center. Your family of origin would have bullied you out of being front line and center about things. They wanted you to play the back. Be in the back. You're not great enough to be in the front. So being in the front may be frightening to you because you don't want someone or people behind you making you the butt of the jokes or just plotting against you because your back is towards them. So you start to recede to the back of any crowd because you would rather see what everyone else is doing and know that no one's plotting behind your back, opposed to coming to the front to be who you are. And you may very well think that you're a person that likes to just make sure that everything is okay by observing everything from a distance, not realizing that no, that is how, that's your safety mechanism, right? So you've learned to protect yourself by staying in the back and watching them and giving them no opportunity to make you the butt of the joke, right? That is also you not living your life in the present moment, right? That is what your family of origin has done to you by creating you to being this person, to be hyper vigilant and not being in the present. Ask yourself why you are not in the present, right? When you question why you don't like to be in the front, I guarantee you, if you were your family's scapegoat, it's going to lead to your childhood and the things that used to happen to you whenever you were frontline and center. And so it will be very clear that you were the scapegoat and you don't want to be the butt of the joke, so you remain in the back to give people less opportunities to plot against you or make you the butt of the joke. Ask yourself, is that really living? Are you living your life? Are you present? Are you happy with how you're living your life? Right? The other thing is this. Oftentimes the scapegoat may not speak up in group environments. This doesn't mean that you're afraid to speak up or afraid to lend your opinion. However, in your family of origin, when you lent your opinion, everybody jumped down your throat. You were yelled at. Your opinion or your perspective was not respected. You were made to think that what you had to say and how you thought was stupid. You were stupid and what you had to say were of no value. So you learned to be quiet because you got tired of hearing that you're stupid and what you had to say was of or is of no value, right? So unfortunately, when you grow up now, because let's some people may think, well, that happened when you were a kid. No, in your family of origin, you have dealt with this up until you moved out of the home. So how old were you when you moved out of your house? So if all you've known is this structure and this ideology of who your family of origin think and say you are, your coping mechanisms match that. And you don't realize that it is coping mechanisms. In that, this is what you use to protect yourself in your environments when you work or when you're in social settings. And unfortunately, because you don't realize that your family of origin is abusive, you think that that's just how people are. And so you place yourself around people who are similar to your family of origin, right? So our nervous system only lets us know when we're comfortable, right? When, if it's okay for us to be here. Your nervous system don't recognize abusive and non-abusive. So oftentimes you're going to feel comfortable to be around people that is similar to your family of origin because you are familiar with this type of behavior and you don't realize that it's abusive behavior. So you don't realize that you are being disrespected. So you place yourself around people that's unhealthy for you. They may have been disrespecting you and you'll brush it off. You'll ignore it. And you don't realize that that's actually signaling that you're compliant or it's giving them the green light to continue to disrespect you. And so it's unfortunate in your family of origin, you couldn't hold the adults accountable, right? Because you were a kid, right? You couldn't beat the adults, so the only thing you could do was tune them out and ignore them, right? If you don't want their words to seep in, you would ignore them. So when they said these negative things about you, they made you feel like you were the human trash can. They told you that you were stupid, that what you had to say was of no value. It made absolutely no sense. They didn't acknowledge you in family conversations. When you were speaking, they spoke over you. All of that was disrespect, and you don't realize that it's disrespect, and you brush it off or you tune it out. Now, what happens when you become an adult and you place yourself around the wrong individuals who have similar personalities to your family of origin? You use the same coping mechanisms that you did as a child, and you don't realize that that is signaling to these people that you are the person to be disrespected because you won't speak up for yourself. And so now this is double jeopardy, and it's unfortunate because you don't realize that your coping mechanisms is allowing people to disrespect you because you were used to doing this, right? And so it's important to talk about this because society will blame the person that has been abused and disrespected without understanding why a person do not speak up for themselves or advocate for themselves the way you think that they should. People who come from healthy backgrounds do not tolerate the things that a person who come from unhealthy backgrounds tolerate. And that is because we have to be taught what respect is. We need to be taught what boundaries are. And when you come from a household that do not teach you that, who in fact disrespect you, you don't realize how much disrespect you've been allowing to happen to you. You have the slightest idea, and it's unfortunate, right? And this is not to point the fingers and blame yourself, because again, you don't know what respect is. You don't know what your boundaries are, where your boundaries end and where they begin. You have to learn yourself all over again, right? Because what you've been taught about yourself is not the truth, right? And now also, let's go on to the things that you don't hear, right? So the things that you've been told about yourself, but the things that they don't tell you is negative information as well that you received about yourself. So all information that you've learned about yourself leads to you are not worthy of support, you are not worthy of protection, you are not worthy of respect, and you don't realize it, right? So why this is also important. Listen, when we come of age, we're looking to find healthy friendships. And those of us who have come from, those of us who are the family scapegoat don't even know how to make friends. It is the truth. We may be bubbly people and can talk to and get along with anybody, right? And we look at things as, okay, you treat me the way I treat you. That's not how you make friends or make good business partners. People who come from healthy environments, I don't want to say they put people to the test, but there is a direct and intentional way that they speak up for themselves, they lay down their boundaries, and they interact with other people that lets other people know that they are not tolerating anything that goes beyond this, right? And they're firm in how they communicate. Those of us who come from unhealthy and abusive backgrounds don't know to communicate in that way. We don't know to speak on boundaries in that way because, again, we don't know what boundaries are. And so this actually sets the scapegoat up for failure later on in life because we need to actually interact with and collaborate with other human beings. And we should be learning who is safe for us and who's not safe for us to interact with and collaborate with so that we can pivot. But we learn these things later on in life after placing ourselves around people that are unhealthy and getting burned by, these interactions, right? And so then we learn afterwards. And we're grown when we're learning these things. So I'm here to say, if you are your family scapegoat and you are going through your learning process, your rebirth, I'm here to tell you, or just lend some compassion. Do not blame yourself, but you can start today by changing your life and changing your circumstances, changing how people deal with you, changing how you let people handle you and deal with you. No longer pushing things off and ignoring things, right? We're not children anymore. Some things need to be checked right away, right? And learn to do that right away, right? From this day on. Holding it in, brushing it off, and ignoring it was what you had to do in order to survive when you were a child, because you cannot hold adults accountable, right? And if you
Ava, can't hear you. Ava,
Hello?
yes, Miss Joyce.
Yes, I don't hear anything.
I don't hear her.
What Donald Duck doesn't realize is he's not just damaging America's politics, he's actually damaging white America's reputation.
So,
okay, I don't know what happened, how I just got disconnected. But anyway, does anyone have any questions?
I do. I no
Okay.
longer. Good evening. My name is Latoya.
Hi, Latoya.
I totally stood up for myself. I no longer allow no negativity come no longer my way. I totally blocked the person. Family is the least of my problems. You have to speak up for yourself. You cannot let them take control over you. They're the least of your problems, to be quite honest. If they want to block you or they want to like do negative things or try to take control over you, you take control back over yourself. They're going to speak over you. They're going to spread false rumors about you and so on and so forth. Those type of things, you just don't allow it. You just don't allow none of that foolishness. And I didn't allow it. I totally blocked, and that was it.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
So
They blocked. I blocked, and they took me out of the group chat because I stood up for myself. I exposed them for who they are.
I agree with you on that. So for myself, I stood up for myself. I published a book about my life. It's titled Newark's Armadillo, right? But when you are the scapegoat, there's the abuse is so deep and layered, So I agree, and I admit that there are times where I didn't stand up for myself because the disrespect was passive aggressive, right? It would be the way they look at each other, but they're not saying anything. So I don't know how to deal with that, right? So there's going to be some type of disrespect and abuse that you still deal with in older years as you become an adult, unless you cut them off completely and have absolutely nothing to do with them ever again. But if you're around them, that's the behavior, that's how they behave, right? So with my cousins and my family, my cousins, their youngest aunt passed away, and I go to the house and I asked, what's the address to the funeral home where we're going? None of them answered me. I asked about maybe 3 or 4 times and they didn't answer me at all. Their father asked for the address, they gave him the address, and I followed them to the funeral home. And I said to myself at that time, if this was someone else, I would have raised my voice or I would have just said, I'm going home. If no one texts me the address to the funeral home, I'm going to leave. But when you come from that type of environment, there's still some things you do put up with. I was livid. Like they didn't answer. They act like I was not asking for the address. But I say this to say that when you are the scapegoat, any opportunity they get to treat you as if you're less than them, they will. And at that time, them thinking that I'm not deserving of an address to just drive to the funeral home on my own, like I had to follow them and I have my own car and my own things going on. You know what I mean? It is totally, it's just not right. It's not right. And so thank you for your chime in. Anyone else have anything to say?
You're welcome. And you're right about that. And I just don't let people speak. I tell them, don't speak for me. I speak for myself. Don't add. Don't think that I can't talk for myself. When it comes time for me to speak, when it comes out to the doctor's office, so on and so forth, I'm talking to somebody else. Don't you say a word. So you can speak for herself. You keep your mouth shut. Don't you say a word.
I feel you, and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. There's so many people that comes from that type of environment that it's like the cat caught their tongue. They really don't know how to speak up for themselves, and then a lot of people are, I don't want to say needy, but a lot of people may not have the grit to be stoic, and they really need their support system. And unfortunately, the family never intended to be the support system of someone that they created to be the scapegoat of the family. And oftentimes, the person that's the scapegoat don't realize that they're the scapegoat. They take on the notion or the mentality of, why is this happening to me? And I'm doing everything, and I'm still the bad guy. I don't understand what I did. That's how they're thinking, and they're never getting to the reality that these are just abusive people, and they're predatory, and they singled you out to be the person to abuse and punch down on, right? And so that's also a factor with the scapegoat. And it's just unfortunate because the family is not going to tell you that it's their intention to not want you to grow to go on and do great things. They can tell. You can tell. You can see in a child when they're young that, if this child continues to go in this direction, they're going to do great things in life. You can tell. And so they can see that you would do some amazing things, and they don't want you to do it, especially if you're not like them, right? And this typically happens when the people are wicked, right? For some reason, wicked people do not want compassionate and empathic people to go on and do great things. They're thinking that they got this notion that you don't deserve to have success. And it's the good old spiritual warfare. The devil thinks that the devil is right. The devil thinks God is wrong. It's really what that is. Thank you.
You're right. One more other thing. I can be in a circle, but I don't necessarily have to pay them no mind. You could be in a circle, but they the least of my worries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm with
And
you.
they know that. They the least of my worries. I can be in a circle, but I don't have to socialize and they know that.
That's right.
They know that. But I'm gonna let somebody else. I don't want to hog up the mic. I'll let somebody else speak. I just like your. I just like your. I want to see your conversation. I like your topic. Your topic was very great, so I had to definitely chime into that. But let me let somebody else speak the mic. I don't want to hog it.
Thank you, and you're welcome. Anyone else? Well, I'm having
Miss Joyce, did you want to say something?
I think so. But the family scapegoat, what I like about us is the things that we go on to do for society, It's just it's never regular. Even if we're a school teacher, it's not regular. You know, we prove why they fought so hard to bring us down, right? And our family of origin sometimes are the people that are here to catapult us spiritually so that we become aware of who we are and go on and do the purpose that God brought us here to do, and it's something to look back and smile on when we're able to realize it for what it is and go on to become victorious. And I say again, that's a smaller percentage of us. So much people that, come from that background turn to drugs and alcohol. Some have committed suicide. Some have not been successful at all. They bounce from job to job, don't realize why they can't keep a job, right? Learning great interpersonal skills is something that you develop in your household. And when you come from an environment like that, you don't get to develop those great interpersonal skills. There's a lot of setback that comes with being the family scapegoat. However, continue on with being victorious. Continue with your strategy, and do not allow your family to take ownership or no space in your life. Like I said, there's great entitlement that they have, that they think that they are deserving of your time and deserving of any rewards that you have worked for. For some reason, they think that they're deserving of it and you aren't deserving of it, although you've worked for it, right? So you would be smart to not have them around you. You don't need your family of origin to celebrate. The people who worked with you and helped you get to where you are is your family, and you celebrate with them. Does anybody else have anything else, a question or anything else to add?
Thank you so much for your time. You are so true.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, it's really it's really something to look forward to once you overcome that threshold. But it is also something that should be talked about more. When we talk about child abuse, we don't talk enough about narcissistic abuse. And when narcissistic abuse is talked about, it's typically in intimate relationships. But what about the household, the family, the mother or the father that's narcissistic to their child? A lot of children have records of their parents or guardian actually ruining success all throughout their lives, right? And so it is something to talk about. My grandmother has ruined many things for me. I wanted to be the color guard at Barringer High School. She did not allow me to be a part of the band. And no, I was not one of those girls that, was into boys. I was a tomboy, and I fought a lot in school. However, she did not want me to be a part of the band. When my uncle bought a food truck, he bought a hot dog truck, And I loved working on the hot dog truck after school. When we got the house, he wanted to give me the hot dog truck just, to make money. My grandmother would not let me work on that hot dog truck. And we're talking about working to make money in cash. She refused for me to work on that hot dog truck. There were so many things that she refused for me to do. And when I tell you I'm A1, I've always been about my business, never allowed people to take advantage of me. She envied my get up and get it, right? She envied that because that's not who she is as a woman. She's that, that other kind of woman. If you know, you know. So with me, ever since I was a child, I was, I wanted a computer when I was a kid, 5 years old, 6 years old. When they asked me what I wanted for Christmas, I said a computer. I said the real Barbie doll, a teddy bear, and a computer. And I got a computer. My grandmother, what she did with that computer, took it and put it all the way up in the closet. She did not want me touching books or anything, but then turn around and tell me I'm stupid. Right. So, because, her mind was made up that when she gets older, I was going to take care of her. They have these long plans on why they're ruining your success. They got plans for you on how they're going to use you in their life, as if you don't have a life of your own. Right. So with me, thank God for my ancestors and my thought process that, that wasn't going to happen. When I got older as a teen, I already knew that she thought that I was going to be the person that took care of her, and my mind was made up that I didn't care. I was not going to be the person taking care of her at all. My mind was made up. Once you've ruined certain things for me, you don't deserve my offering to take care of you. You would have to find your own way to do it. Like, that's not, God didn't put us here for that, right? And so those are the things I had to ask myself as a young teen. Did God really put me here to deal with all of this abuse and still take care of the person who've abused me and ruined things for me? The answer was no, right? And those were some hard questions. And I know many people may not have that ability to ask themselves these questions, because oftentimes we hear, honor thy parents, right? Honor thy mother, honor thy father. Respect the person that's taking care of you or that raised you, and you don't think that these people are sacrilegious, right? So you question yourself more than you question them, and so that's it's a slippery slope, right? Anyone else have any questions or anything to add in regards to being the scapegoat and what happens to the scapegoat when they leave their family of origin?
I just say that it comes back to bite you, because I know it came back to bite the person that I helped it. Me fighting them bad, and I just sit back and I've been sitting back and saying, "This is exactly what you get."
That's right. That's right. I just went through it with another cousin of mine, and I got the text messages. I blocked the phone number, and I got crazy text messages from another number. Oh, you just think that, and this is what I mean by the entitlement. And this is a cousin that I raised, right? They don't respect or even see what you've done for them, because they've been groomed by the family that you're to be treated less than, people don't treat their animals that way, right? So, and it's not that they don't know that this is wrong, but again, people innately have this thing of keeping their feet on other people's necks so that they can feel superior. So they don't feel good about themselves by themselves. It is always that they have to be talking about someone else and have someone supposedly beneath them. But I say this, when God spins the block, you're going to be watching on from TV, right? Mm-hmm. Not going to have access. That's just not how God does things. So I'm a firm believer of that you continue to be a good lad for God, continue to be obedient, and continue to work in your purpose, and watch how God spins the block.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Anyone else? If not, or I hear something.
I was just going to say I can't identify with that because my parents always pushed all of us, and I found out years later that the building we grew up in, the people thought we were rich because we went away every summer. I didn't know that. I don't pay people any attention, so that may be a lot of my downfall. Listen, you want to be disrespectful, I just move myself from you. I just call a vacuum if I feel disrespected, So, but we weren't raised like that in my family, so I couldn't identify. I listened, and I just couldn't identify. So maybe I was fortunate. I'm sorry about your upbringing or your rearing, that your grandmother, I wouldn't expect relatives to be like that. I would expect relatives to push each other. Oh, that's good. I'm glad for you. I don't know. I guess is the luck of the draw or whatever it is. I don't have. I just couldn't identify. But I listened, and good for you, pushing through. Good for you. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Thank you. And there's more to come.
Good. Good for you.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you again. Anyone else? And we have 1 more minute. It's 8:14. This is how time flies when you're having a good time. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. I think next week I'm going to talk about the importance of meditation. So I look forward to having you on next Thursday at 8:15 while we discuss the importance of meditation and why we should learn how to meditate. Until then, you all have a good evening. Oh, and Brother Graves is coming on right after me, and after Brother Graves is Baba Joe. You all have a good evening. I see someone is going to say something with a 201.
Oh, that was me. No, I enjoyed your podcast. That's Brother Bill.
Bill Graves.
Yeah, Brother Bill Graves. Yes. No, I enjoyed it, and thank you so much. This is a great show.
Thank you. And I will be tuning in to Brother Bill Graves after myself, and I look forward to seeing you all next Thursday.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Have a good night, all.
You too. Thank you. Be safe. Good night.
Good night.